Hi, my name is Ralph Cadalso. I will be your instructor for Module 6. So for Module 6, our topic will be regarding MIT App Inventor concepts like multiple screens and responsive design. For the objectives, at the end of this module, you should be able to first, learn what event handlers and how they work, learn what commands and expressions and how they are executed using event handlers, understand the pros and cons of creating multiple screens and virtual screens in App Inventor, familiarize the techniques to reduce the use of multiple screens in App Inventor, familiarize and understand the basic concept of responsive design in App Inventor. So first, we have event handlers. What are event handlers? App Inventor describes how the phone should respond to certain events, such as a button has been pressed, the phone is being shaken, the user is dragging her fingers over a canvas, etc. This is specified by event handler blocks, which use the word when button 1 click and when accelerometer sensor shaking. Most event handlers are in orange color and stored at the top part of each drawer. Here are some of the examples of your event handlers. So in this image, we have your when button 1 is clicked. Okay. The second one is when accelerometer sensor 1 is shaking. So basically, these event handlers, okay, are like triggers when the user performs these events. Okay, a block of code will be executed. When an event occurs on a phone, the corresponding event handler is set to fire, which means it is executed. Commands. So when an event handler fires, it executes a sequence of commands in its body. A command is a block that specifies an action to be performed in the phone. So for example, like playing sounds. Most command blocks are in purple or green color. Here are some of the examples of the commands. Okay, so we have call sound 1 play. So this command, it will be playing your audio or your sound 1. Then we have your second command, call sound 1 vibrate into a particular number of milliseconds. Okay, so when the sound plays, it will also be vibrating. Now, we also have these two commands. Okay, so let's say, for example, set label 1 text color to cyan. So what I'll be doing is it will be changing the text color of this label into cyan. Then we also have this one, set label 1 text to hello world. So what it will be doing is it will be changing the string for label 1, then it will be changing it, or it will be displaying the hello world as the value of your label 1. Some commands require one or more input values such as parameters, or also known as parameters or arguments, to completely specify their action. For example, call sound 1 vibrate needs to know the number of milliseconds to vibrate. Set label 1 text color needs to know the text color of the label, and set label 1 text needs to know the new text string for the label. The input for these input values is shown by the socket on the right edge of the command. Okay, so we also have your expressions. So expressions, these sockets can be filled with expressions, blocks that denote a value. Expressions block have leftward pointing plugs that you can imagine to transmit the value of to the socket. So larger expressions can be built out of simpler ones by horizontal composition. Okay, so let's go back in here. So let's say, for example, this value, this is a numerical value 500. This is a color, okay, and this is a string. These are what we call expressions, or basically these are the values that your commands need before it can execute. So we have some example of your expressions in here. So all of these are numerical expressions. So this is a single numerical expression, 500. Then this tree will be composites. It's composed of multiple, okay, expressions combined to each other. So let's say, for example, in this expression, we have two numerical values being added. In this example, two numerical values being divided. And on the last example, we have three expressions, okay, performing multiple mathematical equations. Commands are shaped so that they naturally compose vertically into a command stack, which is just a one big command built out from smaller one. So here is an example of a stack that has four commands. So basically, Okay, when you attach this into event handler, the event handler will be performing this four commands, okay, consecutively. So when the stack of the command are placed in a body of an event handler, so for example, when button 1 is clicked, the command will be executed from top to bottom. If the stack of the command above is executed, then the phone will first play the sound, then vibrate, then change the label's text to aqua, then label will be shown the text hello world. Okay, next. We have building apps with many screens. App Inventor makes it easy to add more screens to an app, but you'll need to be cautious about adding too many screens. App Inventor's designs make it expensive in terms of computing resources, such as your RAM, your processing power, to have an app with multiple screens, and it is easy to exceed App Inventor's limitation. As much as possible, we want your application to have as minimal screens, okay, as possible. So as the rule of the thumb, you should not have more than 10 screens in a single application. And App Inventor will warn you when you attempt to exceed this limit. Before adding additional screens to your app, consider using virtual screens. So what are virtual screens? Virtual screens are basically a concept of creating multiple screens, okay, by using the vertical and horizontal arrangement by clicking its visibility property. So how do we add screens and where can we see your virtual screens? Now, so we'll be proceeding in your app inventor. So what we'll be doing now is let's start a new project. So let's say, for example, uh, we'll be adding your project name as screens. Okay, we'll open this. Okay, so the first thing that you need to know is where do we see your screens? So basically, in your mobile application, you have this screen 1. By default, when you create a project, you already have your screen 1. Then, how do you add additional screens on your mobile application? You can click this button to add a new screen on your button. Okay, when you click this button, this is a drop-down selection of the multiple screens that you have. So let's say, for example, let's try to create a simple mobile application that consists of multiple screens. So for example, we'll add a new screen, okay? You'll be renaming, or you can rename the screen name, anything you want, but for now, I'll be renaming it to, or I'll be naming it to screen 2, okay? Then I'll be adding an additional screen, so that will be screen 3. Now, when you click this button, okay, it will be showing you the different screens that you have. So, as for now, we have how many screens? We have 3. All of these screens will have no content as of the moment. So, what we're going to do is, let's try to add contents for this one. So, what we're going to do for this single application is, we'll be creating an app that when a button is clicked, it will be showing you a new image. Okay, so let's start. So for now, before I proceed, what I'll be doing is I'll be creating your layout. So I'll be selecting virtual arrangement. I'll be dragging it onto this part of your screen. Then I'll be changing its height to fill parent. So what does fill parent mean? So it will be changing the height of your height and width of your vertical arrangement based on the size of your screen. So it will be matching the size of your screen. So after adding your virtual arrangement, we'll be adding a button. So for this example, we'll be using 2 buttons. Okay, so 2 buttons. Then we'll be aligning this to center. Okay, and aligning this to center, both vertical and horizontal for this particular example. Now, what we're going to do now is, once we click this button, okay, let's say button 1, we want your screen to be redirected to screen number 2. And if we click button 2, we'll be redirecting our screen to screen number 3. So, how we're going to do that? So, now, we'll be proceeding with so let's proceed with screen 2. What are we going to show the user once we click your screen number 2? So let's add a new layout. So we'll be adding still a vertical arrangement layout. So I'll be matching its height and width to match its parent. Okay. Then what content are we going to show? We'll be showing an image as the content. So for now, I'll be adding an image in here. Okay. Then I'll be changing its height and width. So let's try to change it to percent. Let's try um, a 50% Okay. Now I'll be moving it to the center. Okay, so we have your image in here. Now, how do we add image? Okay, as you can see, we already drag an image component. And how do we attach a particular image? So what we're going to do now is you can proceed in the lowest part of this of your component list. You'll be seeing an upload file button. So click this one, then choose an image that you want to upload. So let's say, for example, I'll be uploading an image of a cat. Okay, then click OK. So for this example, we'll be needing two images. So I'll be also uploading another image. So that will be an image of a dog. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we'll be attaching an image to this image one component. So you'll be proceeding in here. Okay. On your properties, you can see this picture. Click this one, then select on the images that you uploaded. So let's say, for example, I'll be using the cat.jpg. Okay. Then you'll see the image. Okay, the image of the cat will be shown in here. So aside from the content, we also want to have a button that we can use to go back to the main menu. So let's say, for example, I'll be using a button and I'll be changing its text to back. Okay. This is the button that we'll be using to click, okay, to go back to the main menu. So for screen number 2, that's okay for now. Then we'll be proceeding to screen number 3. So for screen number 3, we'll be having the same concept. So we'll be adding our vertical screen arrangement. We'll be changing its height to fill parent, same as with its width. And after that, we'll be adding an image component. So we'll be setting your image, or we'll be setting the content of a vertical arrangement to both center, horizontal, and vertical. Let's change the height and width of your image. I'll be changing it to 50 by 50%. Okay. Then after doing that, we'll be using the image of the dog for screen number 3. Okay, now we have your image. Then we'll also be having a button that we can use to go back to the menu screen. So let's change the text for this button. I'll be using back. Okay. Now we have set up your screen number 2 and your screen number 3. Now let's proceed to screen number 1. So I'll be changing the labels or text for your button. So let's say, for example, I'll be using the label cat for this button, and for this button number 2, I'll be changing it to dog. Okay. Now we'll be proceeding on your blocks designer. So for the blocks, what we're going to do now is we'll be adding the events for the button. So we'll be using when button 1 is clicked. Okay. Same as with button 2, we'll be using the click event handler. Then after that, what we're going to do now is we'll be switching with your screens. So how do we switch screens when we press your button? We'll be proceeding to control. So under control, you'll see here open another screen. Okay, so we'll be selecting this one. Okay, open another screen. Then you'll need to attach the screen name. Okay, so I'll be copying this, okay, and pasting it here inside your event handler. Now we also need to specify what particular screen do we want to open when we press button 1 and press button 2. So what we're going to do now is we'll be adding a text block. Okay, so we'll be selecting this one. Then we'll be adding the name of your screen. So let's say, for example, we want to navigate, or we want to open screen 2. We'll be adding screen 2 as the text for this parameter. I'll copy this one, and for button 2, I'll be changing to screen 3. Okay. Okay na? So let's proceed. Let's try this. So before we try this, for testing, I'll be using the app or the App Inventor companion. So to do that, I'll be using a mobile phone. So I have set up here my phone. So it is mirrored using my App Inventor or my a power mirror. Okay, so to do that, first is you want to download your MIT AI2 companion. So when you open the MIT AI2 companion, this is the user interface that you'll be seeing. Now to use this, okay, under the connect, select AI companion. Then what you're going to do is you need to type down the, or you need to scan the QR code, or you can manually type the code. Okay, so let's say for example, I'll be typing MEUMUEKGC and connect with code. So what's going to do now is it will be connecting this App Inventor project onto my mobile phone, so I can easily check the output of my mobile application using an actual device. Okay, so let's just wait. Okay, so after the setup is done, so you'll be seeing the two buttons for your mobile application. So let's try if these two buttons will now redirect from screen number one to screen number two and screen number one to screen number three. So if I'll click on the cat button, it should be redirecting me to screen number two that contains the image of your cat. So let's try to click this one. Okay, so you have your cat image in here. Now, when we press this button, as of now, it won't be functioning because we didn't add any event handlers, commands, or any expression for this button. Now, to do that, what we're going to do now is we'll be adding blocks, okay, in here. So, let's say, for example, we want to navigate from screen number one to screen number 2 to screen number 3, all you need to do is to click this drop down selection. So we'll be proceeding to with screen number 2. Okay, we have your button 1. We'll be using button 1 click as your event handler. Then we'll be using this open another screen name as your command. So for the expression, we'll be adding the name of your screen that you want to be redirected to. So what we're going to do now is we want this back button to open screen number 2. Okay, we want to open the main menu of the buttons. So I'll be adding screen number 1. Okay, I'll attach here in the command. Okay, then I'll also be doing this for screen number 3. So we have button number 1, the event handler is, when button 1 is clicked, we'll be adding the command to open another screen. Okay, then same screen name, we'll be using screen number 1. Okay, so let's go back to screen number 2. Okay, now what we're going to do now is we'll try to refresh what we can see on your AI2 companion. So let's refresh this one. Okay, it will be reloading. Then let's try if the blocks that we've added is now functioning. So I'll click cat. Okay, then it will be redirecting me to the screen number 2. Okay, that contains the image of the cat. I'll click back. Okay, we're now in screen number 1. So let's click dog or the dog button. Okay, then it will be redirecting me to screen number 3 that contains the image of the dog. As you can see, every time that you click a button or every time the cat, dog button or the back button is pressed, you'll see in your App Inventor that it automatically updates the blocks that you'll be seeing in that screen. But for the mobile application, it will take you around 1 to 2 seconds before you can open or before you can see that screen. Why is that? It's because App Inventor is designed that way. App Inventor, as much as possible, will want you to use minimal amount of screens for your mobile applications. Every screen that you're adding on your mobile application will be needing additional processing power, RAM, etc., etc. Okay, that will take a lot longer. So let's say, for example, if you'll be adding 10 screens, 8 screens, okay, the more screens that you add, the longer the processing, okay, uh, will happen. So as much as possible, we want to limit our screens to minimal amount only. Okay. Okay, now, so let's continue. We have virtual screens. So rather than building an app with actual multiple screens, you can use a single screen and show and hide the buttons by means of the visibility property. So when the image changes. So virtual screen is basically creating a screen within a screen. Not actually a screen, but it will be using vertical and horizontal layouts as replacement to the screens. Then you can see, or you can open screen 1. Instead of opening screen 1 to screen 2, what you're going to do is you'll be using the visibility. You'll be playing with the visibility. It's either the vertical layout is visible or invisible. Okay. Now, more virtual screens comes at the price of the increased program flexibility in the block. So that handle the new switching. So it's much simpler to add a new virtual screen for each new view and not have to worry about screen switching logic. So you can work this way for any number of virtual screen that you want. Now, so let's try to create a simple mobile application that will be using a virtual screen. Okay, so let's proceed with your MIT App Inventor. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'll be deleting these excess screens. Now to do that, you'll need to select the screen that you want to delete, remove the screen, then you want to type the name of that screen for verification. So let's delete this one. Okay, so we'll proceed with screen number 3. I'll also be deleting this one. So type your screen name, so screen 3. Let's delete this. Okay, so for this particular example, we'll only be having 2 or 1 screen. Okay, so we'll be doing the same concept. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we'll be instead of using multiple screen, we'll be doing the same application. Okay, but we'll be using a new technique. So instead of using multiple screens, we'll be using virtual screen. Now to do that, first thing that we want to do for now is we want to select your vertical arrangement 1 and uncheck this visible property. Okay, when you uncheck this one, all the contents for vertical screen arrangement 1 will disappear. Now, so we'll be proceeding to creating a new virtual screen. So instead of adding additional screen, what we're going to do is we'll be adding a new layout. So we'll also be using a vertical arrangement. So I'll drag your vertical arrangement in here. Okay, so I'll be setting its height to fill its parent, same as with its width. Okay. Now, what we're going to do now is the same concept as we did earlier. So we'll be adding an image. Okay, so let's arrange the vertical arrangement to center and center for the horizontal and vertical. I'll be changing its height to around, let's say, 50%, same as with its, or no. Change this to fill parent. But what we want to do is we want to change the height and width of your image. So I'll be changing the width of your image to 50%, same as to its height. Okay. Now, we'll be adding your back button. Okay, so I'll be adding your button in here. Okay, so this will serve as your back button. So I'll be changing its label. So let's say, for example, let's change it to back. Okay, same procedure as earlier. We'll be adding an image. So let's try to add the image of your cat. So on your properties panel, select picture, then select the image of your cat. Okay. Now, next thing that we're going to do is we'll hide vertical arrangement 2. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we'll be adding an additional screen. So to do that, we'll be adding a new vertical arrangement. Okay, so this is your third vertical arrangement now. So we'll be changing its height to fill its parent, same as with the width. Okay, same procedure. We'll be adding your image and we'll be adding your button. So, okay. image, change to height and width to 50%. Then we'll be adding your button. So this will serve as your back button. Okay. Now, so once, oh no, we'll be adding the image for image number 2. So we'll add the picture, then we'll be using dog. Okay. So here's the dog now. So what we're going to do for this particular example is we want to hide vertical arrangement 3 same as with vertical arrangement 2. What we need to show now is the vertical arrangement 1. So just a recap. Vertical arrangement 1 contains the main menu or the menu for the cat and dog buttons. Vertical arrangement 2 contains the content for cat, and vertical arrangement 3 contains the cat or contains the content for the dog. So now we'll be proceeding with your blocks. Okay. Now, so for now, I'll be deleting these previous blocks that we did earlier. Okay. We proceed with vertical arrangement 1 in here. Okay. So you um, have button 1. Okay. So select button 1, then when button 1 is clicked. Now, what we want to do now when we click button 1 is we want to show, okay, or we want to set the visibility on of screen number 2, turn off the visibility for vertical arrangement 1 and vertical arrangement 3. So we'll only be seeing the content for vertical arrangement 2. So what we're going to do now is first select vertical arrangement 1. So we'll be setting its visibility. Okay. Set vertical arrangement 1 visible 2. Okay. You want to grab this. Same as with vertical arrangement 2. Set vertical arrangement visible. Okay. Same as with vertical arrangement 3. Okay. So as you can see, we have vertical arrangement 1, 2, 3 will be changing their visibility. So I'll be adding this for button number 1. So just a reminder, button number 1, okay, so let's go back. Button number 1 should show us the content for the cat. And the content for the cat is placed on vertical arrangement number 2. So what we're going to do now is we'll be adding expressions to these 3 commands. So we'll be using logic, we'll be using these true and false values. So first, we want to set the visibility of arrangement 2 to true because this is where the content for the cat is currently placed. Then for vertical arrangement 1 and vertical arrangement 2, we want to change its visibility to false. Okay. Now, let's try this if this works. So to do that, okay, let's refresh your companion screen. Then I'll open up my power mirror. Okay, so as you can see, this is your mobile application now. Let's try if we click button number 1 or we click the cat button, what will happen? So if you click this one, okay, it will be opening the vertical arrangement 2 that contains the image of the cat. As you can see, it is a lot more quicker as compared to using multiple screens. Okay. Now, so let's finish this mobile application. So what we're going to do now is we'll be adding the blocks for this back button. So this is vertical arrangement 2. So I'll be selecting vertical arrangement 2 button. Okay, when on click, okay, so we want to show vertical arrangement 1 and to hide vertical arrangement 2 and 3. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'll just copy this. Okay. Oops. Then I'll be changing their values. So what we want to do now is we want to show vertical arrangement 1. Okay, so we want to change its value from false to true. Okay, so let's check if this is working. So let's refresh companion screen. Okay, let's try this one. When we click cat, okay, it will be opening the screen arrangement for the cat. When we click back, okay, we will be redirected back to the main menu. So let's try to finish this simple application. Okay, so we'll be proceeding for the dog. This is now your button number 2. Okay, when button number 2 is clicked, Okay, I'll be copying this commands. Okay, we'll be just changing the values that we'll be using. Okay. Okay, so for button 2, or when we click the dog button, we want to set the visibility true to vertical arrangement 3. Okay, so we'll be setting vertical arrangement 1 to, okay, false, false, and vertical arrangement 3 to true. Okay, then for vertical arrangement 3, we have button number 4. Okay, now we'll be adding the back button to go back to the main menu. So I'll be copying this blocks. They will be serving the same functionality. Okay. So let's try this one. So we'll be proceeding to refresh companion screen. Okay, I'll be opening my mobile application. Let's try to click cat. We'll be opening the content. For the cat, click back, click dog, click back. Okay. So as you can see, using virtual screens will require less processing power and RAM. So it is a lot more faster in the response time as compared to using multiple screens. Okay. Okay, so let's continue. Many screens. Always proceed with caution. App Inventor will not prevent you from creating an app with more than 10 screens. But be aware that if you do that, you are in danger of exceeding the processing and memory limitations of most Android devices, as well as your browser. The precise limit depends on several different factors such as the size of your app, the storage taken up by the sounds and image, the speed of your network connection, and the configurations of your web browser. So if you're building an app with more than 10 screens, save your project as AIA file to your local computer, not just the App Inventor server each time you make significant change. It is a good idea to save the versions of the project under different names like My App V1, or which means version 1, or My App V2, and so on and so on. So designing your apps to limit the number of screens. If it seems that your app requires a large number of screens, you might think about redesigning it not to use so many. So for example, suppose your app has to show several different screens images, all with the same functionality, but each image having a different background. So we already have done this bad and good method. So the first example that we have done is the bad method, wherein you'll be using multiple screens, okay, that will perform the same functionality. The good method will be to do it using virtual screens. Okay, so we have these examples of how are you going to build your mobile applications. So this one, okay, this approach used multiple screens. Let's say we have screen number 1 up to screen number 5. As you can see, screen number 2, 3, 4, and 5 will have the same layout but different content such as labels or images, but the layout will all be the same. So instead of doing this, you can create a simple application like this, the second example that we've done previously or earlier. So wherein we'll only be using a single screen but we'll be using multiple layout arrangements. Like in this example, instead of using multiple screens, it will only be using multiple vertical arrangements. Okay. Next, we have responsive design in App Inventor. So, responsive design. One tricky issue in designing apps is making apps that look good on devices with screen on different sizes. For example, apps designed for a given phone should also look good on tablets or phones with a different screen size. Making the apps that have this property is called responsive design. So a common approach to responsive design is to build apps that include multiple layouts and multiple images to accommodate different screen sizes and resolution. So in this example, basically you'll be setting conditions that will be checking the size of your screen. So if your screen size is small, you should use smaller resolution images as compared to higher resolution screens, you need to adjust the size of your image. So you'll be using a more larger image or a high resolution image. This gives good results, but it makes more work for developers because you need to check the orientation of your screen, you need to check the size of your screen before you could lay out the contents that you want to use. So App Inventor uses a simpler approach, but that approach is more limited in terms of the kinds of app it can handle. So we have some rules or some guidelines that you can follow in designing your mobile application in App Inventor. The first and the most important one will be specifying sizes as percentage. There's one important rule when using App Inventor to create apps with responsive design. You want to specify widths and heights of the component as percentages of the screen width and height rather than as fixed number of pixels to accommodate different types of mobile devices. So let's say, for example, you have a screen that will have high resolution. So let's say, for example, the resolution of your mobile phone is 2400 by 1080 pixels. Okay, an image that will have a 50 by 50 pixels will show very small on that resolution. But if you'll be using a mobile phone that will have a lower resolution, okay, an image that has a 50 by 50 pixels resolution might be good for it. Okay, it will vary depending on the size of your resolution. So as much as possible, you want to specify the height and width of different types of components using percentages. So for example, to make a button whose width is half of the screen width, set the button's width to be 50% rather than setting it to a specific number of pixels. Percentage here means percentage of the screen width or height, not the percentage of the containing component. For a button inside the horizontal arrangement, a width of 50% means half of the screen width, not half of the width of the arrangement. You can also specify widths and heights using fill parent or automatic, just always in App Inventor. So let's say, for example, we have your fill parent. So this fill parent will match the size of the parent component. So let's say, for example, you've added a vertical arrangement that has 100% width and height. If ever that you'll be adding a button that will be using fill parent as its width and height, it will be following the height and width of the parent, which is the arrangement. Okay, same as with the automatic, it will vary depending on the content that you'll be using. Okay, so let's say, for example, let's try to adjust the width of this button. So we have button 1 labeled as cat, we have button 2 labeled as dog. Okay, so for this particular example, the height and width of these two buttons, okay, will be in automatic. As you can see in here, the height is automatic, same as with the width. Okay, but if you'll be seeing these buttons, okay, they will have different width for each of the button. It will vary depending on the content, okay, if it uses the fill parent, or it will be using automatic. So let's say, for example, for cat, we want to change its height to fill parent, okay, then change its width to fill parent. What's gonna happen is it will be following the height and width of your vertical arrangement 1. Okay, so if your vertical arrangement 1 is set to fill parent, then its parent will be screen number 1. Okay, so screen number 1 will occupy the whole screen. So basically, what's happening in here is vertical arrangement 1 will have 100% height and width that matches the parent. That will be screen number 1, same as with button. It will be following the parent, the vertical arrangement 1. So let's say, for example, we want to change this. Instead of using fill parent, let's say we'll be changing its height to automatic. Okay, now the height will change now depending on the value that you have inside of the button. So let's say, for example, you have a single line cat in here. It will be following just that height. Okay, now you can specify your height and width into either automatic. Okay, so automatic uses the content that you have for that component. Let's say button, it will be following the the height and width of the text if you'll be using automatic, or you can use parent. You can also use pixels or percentages, but percent, okay, is a lot more better as compared to other selections in here. So if you want to create a responsive design, you'll be selecting percent, or you can also use automatic or fill parent. You'll only be using pixels if your application is going to be displayed using a single type of screen or single type of mobile device. Okay. So now let's continue. Fixed versus responsive design. So App Inventor includes a screen property called screen sizing. Screen sizing can be set either to fixed or responsive. When sizing is fixed, App Inventor creates an app or creates app for a screen of size 320 pixels wide and 460 pixels high, but it scales the app's appearance to match the actual size of the screen that the app is running. So we don't want to use this fix as much as possible. We want your mobile application, okay, to be responsive. It will adapt on the size of the screen of your mobile device that you're using. Okay. So this display is essentially equivalent to how App Inventor apps were rendered on tablets prior to App Inventor version 1.4.5. There are no blocks to set responsive or fix. To change the screen sizing property on the designer screen, with screen 1 selected in components, go to the properties on the right side of the App Inventor. You will find a box below sizing that usually defaults to fixed, located about 2/3 down. So this property is set project-wide. So where can we see that? So let's say, for example, we'll be proceeding to screen. Okay, let's try to scroll. This is your sizing property. So there is a drop-down selection. Now, as much as possible, we want to use responsive for your sizing. Okay, so most of the mobile devices that we're using today won't have a resolution of 320 by 460. Most of the time, the lowest resolution that our mobile devices now will have at least 720 pixels. Okay. Now, when sizing is set to responsive, App Inventor apps use the actual number of pixels for the device the app is running. This number might be different for different types of devices. It will vary depending on the mobile device that you're using. But as much as possible, in creating your mobile applications, you want to set your sizing to be responsive. Here is how we recommend working with App Inventor. If you are currently working on an app that uses fixed sizing, or you have an old app that you don't want to change, or you care only about a single screen, then set sizing to fixed. The display users will be very similar to the display in pre-release 1.4.5 apps. So if you are making a new app, set sizing to responsive and specify width and height as percentages rather than the numbers of pixels. For example, to set the width of a button to 50% of the screen width, you can set the width in the designer by specifying its percent. Okay, so in the designer view, once you click the button, okay, you can set the height and width in this properties panel. You can change it from automatic, fill parent, pixel, and percent. As much as possible, use percent. You can also set percentages sizes in blocks editor using the width percent and height percent properties. So let's say, for example, in here we have a canvas. So set canvas 1 with width percent to 50. Okay, so it will be changing the width of this canvas to 50%. Okay, guys, so the final part of Module 6 is we'll be creating a simple mobile application that will be letting us to log in or to sign up and log in an account using Firebase. Okay, so Firebase is a database that you can use developed by Google wherein you can store all your data on the cloud. So for this activity, what we'll be needing, or what are the concepts that we'll be applying is we'll be applying the concepts of creating virtual screens in a mobile application. So for this mobile application, we'll be needing one screen, but we'll be using two layouts to display the contents of the mobile application. And we'll also be applying simple responsive design techniques for the sizing of your buttons and your text boxes. Okay, now so let's proceed. So what we're going to do now is first we'll be adding a layout. So we'll be using a vertical arrangement layout. Okay, so I'll be changing the width of this layout to, okay, to fill its parent. We'll be setting the height and width to fill its parent. Now next, we'll be adding user interface components that will be using for the login and for a simple registration. So for this, we'll be needing two labels. Okay, I'll be adding the labels in here, label 1 and label 2. Or before I forget, I'll be selecting or I'll be changing the align horizontal and align vertical for this. So for now, horizontal will be changing it to center and align vertical is onto top. So after adding two labels, now I'll be adding my text box. Okay, we'll be using this text box for the input of username. Then we'll also be adding your password text box. Then we'll be needing a button for the login. Okay, and additional label. I'll be adding an OR label for this one and another button. So what we're going to do now is we're gonna design our simple form. So what I'm gonna do now is we'll be changing the label for text for label 1. I'll be changing this to login and sign up form. Okay. Now I'll be changing its font size from 14 to 20. I'll set its text to bold. Okay. Then for label number 2, we'll be using this label to notify the user if the username and password that he inputted is correct or existing on the database. So for now, I'll be removing its text. So I'll set it to blank, but I'll be changing its font size to font size 18 and changing its text color to color red. Okay, now after that, we'll be proceeding with your text box 1. So for text box 1, I'll be changing its width to 95%. Okay, then let's change the width for password box. We'll change it to we'll change its width to 95%. Then we'll also be adding hints for these two text boxes. So for text box 1, I'll be changing its hint to username. So the user can know what's the purpose of this text box. And for password text box 1, we'll be changing the hint to password. Okay. Then for button 1, I'll be changing its text to login. Okay. We'll be changing its width to 95%. Let's change its color from the default gray to let's say cyan. Then proceed to label 3. So for label 3, we'll be changing its text to OR. Okay. Then let's proceed to button 2. So for button 2, we'll be changing its default color from gray to green. We'll change its text to sign up. Okay. Then let's change its width from automatic to 95%. Okay, so we have this simple login and registration form. But before we proceed to the next content, what we're going to do is we'll be renaming. Okay, we'll be renaming these components. So let's say, for example, button 1, I'll be renaming it to login btn. Okay. Then button 2, let's rename this to sign up. Sign up BTN. Okay. Okay, so let's rename this to username txt. Okay, I'll be renaming this to password txt. Okay, now so after we've renamed all its content, then we'll be proceeding to the next vertical arrangement that we'll be doing. So when the user added his username and password and click login, we should redirect the user to the second vertical arrangement where he can see the functionalities of the mobile application. So we'll be adding a camera. Okay, that camera will let us capture an image, and that image will be set as the background of your layout. Then there will also be a button that he can click to log out and be redirected to this screen. Okay, now so to do that, first thing that we need to do now is we'll set the visibility of this vertical arrangement, or let's uncheck the visibility. Then we'll be adding a second vertical layout. Okay, so we'll be changing its height to fill its parent, same as with its width. Okay, then we'll also be adding user interface components in here. So what user interface components? We'll be adding a button. Okay, aside from the button, we'll also be doing a label. Okay, and a button. Then we'll be changing its horizontal and vertical alignment to both center. Okay, now, so for this button 1, okay, we'll be using this button 1 to trigger the camera or to open the camera. So for now, what we're going to do is we'll be changing its text to camera. Okay. Then for label 4, we'll be changing its text to our subject, mobile application development, or elective 2. Okay. Now I'll be changing its font color to white. I'll be changing the background color to green, and we'll change the text color to white. I'll make the text as bold, then we'll be changing its font size to 40. Okay, then we'll have button 2. So button 2 will serve as your logout button. Let's change the text to logout. Okay, I'll be removing the background color, so it will be just like a label, but this is a button. This is a clickable button. Then after that, we'll be changing the appearance of this camera. So we'll be adding an image to this button. So to do that, no, let me just rename this first. So button 1, I'll be renaming this to camera, BTN. Okay. Then this one, rename this to subject LBL for label. Then button 2 will be logout BTN. Okay, now let's attach an image on this camera. How we're going to do that? So what we're going to do now is we'll click on this button. Then first, we'll be uploading an image of camera. So let's say, for example, we have this image. I'll upload this one. Okay. Upon selecting your camera or your camera button, proceed to image, then select your camera.png. So select this one. Okay, so what will be happening now is it will be using the image as the background of your button. But as you can see, there is a label camera in this button, so we want to remove this. So for the text, let's remove this. Okay, then let's change the height and width of your camera button. So instead of using automatic and automatic, let's try to define the height as 20% and change its width to 30%. So now, this will be the user interface that we'll be seeing for our mobile application. So vertical arrangement 1 will have all the user inputs, okay? Then once the username and password is correct, you will be redirected to this vertical arrangement. Now, before we proceed, we'll be needing non-visible components such as your camera. So we'll be proceeding with media. I'll be dragging the camera and placing it on your mobile application. Okay, then you will be seeing the camera 1 on your components list. And aside from the camera, we'll also be using Firebase. So what is Firebase? Basically, this is a database developed by Google wherein you can save your data on the cloud. Okay? If you'll be using data Firebase DB, make sure that your mobile application is connected to internet. Okay? It will be requiring internet connectivity to access your data. So I'll be dragging this one in here. Okay? So these are the user interface that we'll be needing for your mobile application. So before we proceed, first is I want you or will be hiding the vertical arrangement 2 and will be showing the vertical arrangement 1. Okay, now so what we're going to do now? What we're going to do now is we'll be checking the output of your form using the mobile application. So this will be the example or the output of your form on your mobile application. Now, as you can see, the auto rotate is now enabled on my mobile device. So let's try to see what is the output of your mobile applications when we change its orientation from portrait to landscape. Okay, so what we want to do in this particular scenario is we want to change the length of your text boxes, password boxes, and buttons when your orientations change. So let's say, for example, let's try to visit mobile facebook.com. Okay, so for facebook.com, this is your login page when it's in portrait. So as you can see, the width of your text box for mobile number and password and for the login is almost around 95%. But when you change its orientation, okay, the width of your text box for the mobile number and password will be changed from 95% to around 60 to 70% only. So that's what we're going to do for this activity. We'll be changing the width of your text boxes, password boxes, and buttons based on the orientation that your mobile application is currently in. If it's in portrait, we want to set the width of all of these components to 95%. And if it's in landscape, we want to change the width of these components from 95 to around 60 to 70. We'll check. Okay. Now let's proceed to your blocks editor. So what we're going to do first is we'll be changing the width of your text boxes and your buttons, okay, when your screen orientation change. So to do that, we'll be proceeding with your screen 1 component, okay. We'll be selecting your event. So let's say, for example, we'll be using when screen 1 is initialized, okay, and when screen orientation change. Now we have these two event handlers. What we're going to do is we'll be using a procedure as their command. So we'll be creating or we'll be using this do procedure. Okay, so procedure is basically like a user-defined method in programming. So you'll be defining what will be the function of this method. So later we'll be adding the commands for this method and we'll be using it as a command for these two event handlers. So let's say, for example, we'll be editing the name of the procedure to precise buttons. Okay. So after doing that, we'll be adding your conditional statement. So for the conditional statement, we'll be using if then else. Now what we're going to do now is we'll be checking if your mobile application is in landscape or portrait orientation. So to do that, we'll be needing to compare the screen width and the screen height. To do that, we'll be using this block. Okay, so these blocks will allow you to create a conditional statement. Okay, to determine if both values are equal or in greater than or less than. So let's say, for example, we'll be using the width of screen 1 and the height of screen 1. These are the two values that we'll be going to compare. So now, in this math block, so you can select the operation that you want to use. If you want to use the equality, inequality, your less than or equal, greater than or greater than equals. It's up to you what type of conditional statement are you going to use. So for this particular example, okay, I'll be using the greater than sign. Okay, I'll be adding the height here, adding the width there, and adding the height in here. Then we'll be feeding this as your conditional statement. So now we'll be changing the width of your text boxes and buttons based on this condition. So let's say, for example, we'll be changing the the username text width. Okay, so we'll be using the set, same as with the password. Okay, set with percent. Okay, same as with your login button and your sign up button. Now, for these commands, we'll be needing to add, or we need to add your expressions. So the expression that we'll be using is percentage. Okay, so let's say, for example, we'll be using this numerical value. So let's say I'll be setting this to 95 and I'll be pasting it multiple times. Okay, I'll be attaching it to this commands. Okay, then we'll be adding it onto your conditional statement. Okay, so after doing that, I'll be doing it again, but with a different percent for the width. Oh no, let's change this one. We need to use the percent. So user text percent. Okay, so copy this, then we'll copy this. I'll be changing it from 95 to around 60. We'll just copy this and change their values from 95 to 60. Okay. No. So once you're done, so this is your conditional statement, and these are the sizing that you'll be using. The next thing that we'll be doing is we'll be calling now this procedure, okay, to be the command for these two event handlers. So to do that, you can proceed to procedures. Then there will be a new procedure here named resize button. Then you can call this, then paste them as your commands for your event handlers. Now, so what we're going to do now is we'll be proceeding to your a power mirror. Okay, so let's proceed now. Let's refresh the contents of your app inventor companion. So let's refresh this. Okay, then let's check our output. So what we're going to do now is we'll try to change. Okay, so we'll be okay now. So you can see when you're in landscape or you're in your portrait, the width of your text box and your buttons will be around 95%. And when you rotate it, okay, we change it to landscape, the width will be changed from the 95% previously to 60%. Okay, it's up to you now how you're going to design this responsive type of design. It's up to you and how are you going to do it. So this is just an example. Okay, so after doing that, the next thing that we'll be focusing is regarding the Firebase. Okay, so on your designer view, so we've created a Firebase component in here. So these are the basic configurations that you need to change on your Firebase properties. let the Firebase token be as it is as default. Okay, what we're going to do now is we need to provide your Firebase URL. Now to do that, you need to um, we need to sign up for a Gmail account that you'll be using for Firebase. Okay, so the Firebase is let's search for Firebase. Okay, now um, when you're here in the Firebase website, first thing that you need to do is you need to log in onto a email account that you want to use for your project. So let's say for example, I'll be using this account, okay, or this Gmail account. Then what you're going to do now is proceed to console. Okay, so once you're here in the console, you'll be or you need to create a project. Okay, so let's say for example, I'll be creating a project for my mobile application. Let's say I'll be using the project name. Okay, so let's say this is the file name for my Firebase project. Okay, I'll click accept the Firebase terms and press continue. I'll just click continue. Okay, leave the analytics location to United States and check this checkbox. Okay, then create your project. So it will take a few seconds before your Firebase can create your project. So all we need to do now is to wait until your Firebase project is ready. Okay, so once it's done, just click continue. Okay, now we'll be redirected to the console. This is the console for your Firebase. Okay, so what you want to do now is you want to select develop. Okay, then click on to real-time database. We'll be using this Firebase to store your data from the user account that the user will be registering. So for now, okay, once you've created your project, we want to create your database now. So let's create your database. Okay. Now, we'll click enable. Okay, so once you're in here, the next thing that we need to do is we need to proceed with the rules. We need to modify something on your rules. So for the read and write, we want to change this to true. So what will be happening here is anyone that has your link for the Firebase can now access the data. So security is not an issue for now because this is just the demonstration for the usage of your Firebase database. But if you'll be storing crucial data on your database, please make sure that the read and write values will be in false. Okay, but for demonstration purposes, we'll be using this true and select publish. Okay, now after publishing your rules, we'll be proceeding to your data. So under the data tab, you'll be seeing here a link. This is the link that you'll be needing to act, or this is the link that your application will need for in order for you to access the data. As of now, your database contains null values. Okay, so we haven't registered any user for now. So for now, I'll be copying this link. Okay, then I'll be proceeding to my App Inventor project. So for your Firebase DB, okay, paste the URL onto the Firebase URL. Okay, so after doing that, what we're going to do now is we'll check if we've established the connectivity from your mobile application to the Firebase server. So we'll be proceeding with the blocks. Okay, so what we're going to do now is first we'll try to write data onto your Firebase database. Okay, to do that, we'll be proceeding with your blocks editor. Okay, so I'll be selecting the sign up button. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do now is when the user supplies data onto the username, for the username and password, we want that data to be registered into this database. Okay, So to do that, we'll be using our sign up button that click. So then we'll also be using um, this method. Okay, so call Firebase store value. So we'll be storing value onto your Firebase database. So I'll be using this as the command. Okay, we have here your tag and the store to value. So tag is basically a unique identifier like a primary key on your regular database, and the value to store will be the fields that is attached onto that primary key. So the tag now that we'll be using for now is the username.text. Okay, so we'll be using that. So you need to select username.text. Okay, this will serve as your tag. Okay, or the unique identifier for your record. So username txt.text. Okay, it will be placed as the expression for the tag. Then store to value. Value to store will be the password. Okay, so let's find your password text. Okay, so this one we have password text. Okay, that text. Now, so what we're going to do now? Let's try to check if the data that will be adding onto your username and password will be stored onto this database. So let's give it a try. So I'll click refresh companion screen. So let's check what will be the result. Okay, let's proceed to your mobile application. Okay, now, so let's add your username. So let's say, for example, we'll be adding user as your username and password will be password. Okay, then I'll click the sign up button. Okay, now let's check now if the data that we've added as your username and your password will be now reflected onto your Firebase. Okay, so as you can see, instead of having null in here, we have screens. Okay, once you click these screens, there will be a data entry in here. So this is your tag, okay, the user that is in bold text, and the data to store is the password. Okay, now, so what we're going to do now, let's try to add um, additional user. So let's drag this. Okay, now, so let's see. Okay, we have your database in the background. Then let's try to add additional more users. So let's say, for example, user is admin. Then the password is admin. Click sign up. Okay, as you can see, every time that I click the sign up button, the data that is here in the text box and the password box will be now saved onto your database. And just a reminder, your Firebase database will be needing internet connectivity, okay, to read and write data from your server onto your mobile application. So as of the moment, your sign up is now working. Okay, so we have two existing users in here. Now we'll be proceeding with the login. So for the login, we'll be needing two um, event handlers. So the first one is the login button when it's clicked. Okay, this is our first event handler. When login button is clicked, so do something. Okay, then also we'll be needing the when Firebase got value. Okay, we'll be using this two. Okay, we'll be using these two event handlers to check if the username and password that is inputted by the user will have corresponding values onto your database. Now, to do that, what we're going to do now is we'll be using a method for your Firebase. So, get value. So, we'll be using this one, call Firebase db1 get value. Okay, so we'll be adding it in here. Now, let's just move this. Okay, so what's gonna happen is when login button is clicked, it will be calling the component Firebase DB1 get the value tag. So the tag that the tag refers to this data, okay, to this username. Okay, we call this tag. Then this is the data that is stored. We are using this as your password. So to get this, what we'll be needing is we need to get the text that was inputted by the user as his username. If tag is not there, we'll be displaying not available. This is your first event handler. The second event handler will be this Firebase get value. So tag refers to the username, value refers to the password that you are or that you stored. So what we're going to do now is we'll be checking if the username that the user inputted is existing onto the database. Then after it, we'll be checking if the corresponding password is correct onto the corresponding username that your user provided. So to do that, we'll be needing or we need to create your conditional statement. So we'll be using if then. Okay, we'll be using nested to if then. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do now is we need to check, okay, if this username, that text that the user inputted is existing onto your database. Now to do that, we need to compare two values. So first one, I'll be clicking on this tag and get tag, okay, from your database. Then we'll be comparing these two if they are equal. So to do that, we'll be proceeding to math. Then we'll be selecting this block. Okay, we'll be checking if the get tag is equivalent to the username that your user inputted. Okay, so this is your first conditional statement. So username that text, okay, this will be compared onto the get tag onto your database, okay, if it's existing or not. We'll be using this as your first conditional statement. Then the second conditional statement will be to check for the password. Okay, so as we mentioned earlier, the tag is used, or we use the tag as the username, and we use the stored the value as your password. So we'll be comparing now the password text or the password that the user inputted, okay, if it's equivalent to the value that is stored onto your Firebase database. Okay, so let's grab the value, get value. Okay, I'll be adding that get value into here. Okay, then we'll be using this as your second conditional statement. So in this conditional statement, first we're going to check if the username is existing onto the database using the get tag function, and after that we'll check if the password provided by the user is equivalent to the value that is stored onto this tag. Now, so if both of these conditional statement is true, what we're going to do, okay, we'll be setting the visibility of your vertical arrangements. So we'll grab set vertical arrangement 1 to visible. Okay, let's drop that here. Then set vertical arrangement 2 visible in here. So what we're going to do now is we'll be supplying the expressions that are needed for this particular commands. So to set the visibility, we'll be using Boolean values. It's either true or false. So for vertical one, this is currently visible. We'll be changing that to false. Okay, so we'll grab false. Okay, for the vertical arrangement to currently that is not visible, we'll be changing its value to true. Okay, then we'll be adding it in here. Okay, so now after that, what we're going to do is, let's say if the username is incorrect and the password is incorrect, what is gonna happen? So we'll be using the label 2. Okay, we'll be using label 2 to display to the user that he or she inputted wrong password or a wrong username. So we'll be setting its set label 2 text. Okay, let's grab this. Then we'll be adding a text. So what is the text that we are going to display? So let's display incorrect username or password. Okay, so let's try this. We'll drop it here. Okay, Now let's check if we can log in onto your mobile application. Okay. So to do that, refresh companion screen. Okay. So as of the moment, we have two usernames that we can use: admin and user password. So let's proceed now. So this is your mobile application now. Okay. So let's try to input wrong username and wrong password, then press login. Okay. So as you can see, incorrect username or password will be displayed onto your mobile application. Now, let's try to log in the correct username and correct password. So, let's double check. We have admin, and user password. So, let's check. First, I'll be using admin as the username. I'll be using admin as the password and click onto login. Then, your application now will show you the second vertical arrangement that we have. But we need to address some issues in here. So as you can see, after clicking onto the login button, the keyboard is still in here. So we need to address this. Now, how we're going to do that? So we need to add some commands in here when Firebase DB got value. So we'll be adding commands like, okay, so we'll be proceeding to screen 1. Okay, then we'll be using this call screen 1 hide keyboard. We'll be hiding your keyboard. So let's say, for example, I'll be dropping it in here. So let's check. Okay, refresh companion screen. Okay, now you have your mobile application in here. Okay, so let's try to add the correct username and password. I'll click on login. Okay, so once I've clicked the login, as you can see, the keyboard will be now hidden. Okay. Okay, so to correct the problem, what we're going to do is we'll be removing this one in here. So I'll delete this. Okay. Then we'll be adding it onto the logout button. So let's do that. So for label 2, we'll be setting its text. Set label to text. Okay. Then we'll be adding a null string. Okay. Then we'll be attaching it onto the logout button. Then let's check if that will work. So let's grab your mobile application in here. Okay. So we'll be adding the correct username and password. Okay, admin. Click on to log in. Select the camera app. Take a photo. Okay, use this as the background. Okay, then proceed to log out. Now, the label 2 won't have any text. So, this is a short example on how to create a simple login and sign up form in App Inventor using Firebase as the data storage for your user accounts. Okay, so that will be all for this module 6. If you have additional questions regarding this activity, just kindly send me a private message. Thank you.